morning to do a little bit of a cleanup. I want to get some of the beds ready to plant some more vegetables in for this coming fall. And I also am hoping to dig up some potatoes. We'll see what we got this year. So I'm glad you're here and I hope you enjoy the video. I just had to run back in the house and grab some gloves. But our first job in the garden today is I want to get these zucchini plants ripped out. We did get several zucchini this year and the squash bugs did a number on the plants and we're not getting any more from them. So I want to get them ripped out, and I'm also going to rip out these bean plants that we waited until all of the beans were all dried in the pods, and I pulled all of them off probably about a week and a half ago and got all the beans out of it. We ended up getting probably about 2 cups worth of beans, which I think is pretty good considering I didn't really even intentionally plant these. I had found an old bag of beans in one of our bins that were way past expiration date, and a lot of times instead of putting things in the compost pile, I'll just throw them right in my garden bed in spring and mix them into some of the soil. And that's what I did with those beans, and they started growing. So it was quite a surprise when I saw all the little sprouts coming up, and I decided, you know what, let's just see what happens. So we have a couple of cups worth of pinto beans this year that I'm planning on making some refried beans with. Excited about doing that. And it made me decide that if maybe next year we'll plant some pinto beans for real. I'm just going to rip all these plants right out and create a pile over to the side, and then we can get rid of all of that later. This year I ordered some garden soil from our local garden center, and they brought it, and I kind of topped off the beds that we have and then I filled the new beds. And I found that that was a big mistake. I think I probably should have gotten some of the garden soil and then some compost and mixed them together, because I found this year the garden beds were very heavy. The dirt was just so solid, and I'm hoping that that didn't lessen the amount of potatoes that we'll get this year. But next year I'll probably end up just ordering some compost to be brought in, and I'll mix it in with this dirt, and hopefully we will have some better quality soil next year. Maybe I should just pull this little support right out of the ground. Well, that was actually a lot faster than I thought it would be. All we have left in this bed are a couple of tomato plants, and some of them really didn't do very well. The beans kind of took over, and so these ones are just laying over. So I think I'm gonna just rip some of these out because we do have plenty other tomato plants. And maybe I'll leave that one So we have a couple of tomato plants, and then here we have a couple rows of carrots. And what I'm planning to do in the rest of this bed, maybe I'll do some more rows of carrots all the way across here. And then once I pick all of the potatoes, maybe I'll use that entire bed and do green beans all in there. I was looking up online some recommendations for plants that would be good to plant in August in our zone. And I found that carrots and green beans are some good ones. Also beets or turnips. They also said radishes, which I eat radishes, but really I'm the only one in the family that does eat them, and I only have a couple of them, so I don't think it would be worth it for that. I believe I have green beans leftover seeds from when we planted some in my daughter's garden, and those worked out really well this year. So I think that would be a good choice to plant some more of those. I have some turnips and I also have beets, but I've tried to plant those in the past and they didn't really do so well. If I have an extra spot, maybe I'll try them again this year. But I think the best bet for us would be to do carrots because we do eat those all year long, and then also the green beans because that's one of our favorites. We have some nice little cherry peppers on our pepper plants in this pot here. Our tomatoes are coming along really well. We have gotten some of the tiny Tim Tam tomatoes have ripened and we've been eating those, and just yesterday I noticed that some of these cherry tomatoes are starting to ripen. So I picked a couple yesterday and there's a couple more ready today. And then some of our Roma tomatoes, you can see them in there, are just now starting to ripen. The bees are loving the echinacea. I'm moving back to this bed. Just on this little end, we have a couple of volunteer potato plants from potatoes that weren't dug up last year, and we'll see what we got from those. The rest of this bed is all tomatoes, so we're going to try to leave that side alone and just dig up what we have right here. Well, there's some little tiny ones here, but nothing came up with that. So let's dig down in here and see what we get. I like to just use a small shovel and carefully dig around because I don't want to cut open any of the potatoes, but looks like we have a decent potato here. And I have a basket to put them in. So let's see what else we find. This is always an exciting time for me. I feel it's almost like a treasure hunt. I can kind of feel some hard clumps in here, but I don't know if it's soil or if it's potato. So I'm just trying to be as careful as I can. More, and I can see some more down here. You know what? I can feel that there are more potatoes in here, and the kids do love helping to dig out the potatoes. So I think I'm going to leave these right here. It's definitely a warm one out today. We did have a little bit of a breeze earlier, but that has kind of went away. So I'm going to just put my hair up because I think it kept interfering with the microphone. And if the audio doesn't sound very good, I might do a little bit of a voiceover for the part that I had just recorded. I have a helper on their way out to dig up some of these potatoes with me. Yep. Nice, keep on digging and see what you get. I'm gonna get the other gardening tools. Here, let me scooch in behind you. Yep. throw them in the basket. I don't know if we'll keep them or not. Look at a bunch of little ones. Yeah, you can go down deeper in there too. Just be careful when you're... You can feel a big one in there. Wow! So let's go on over to the other garden bed and see what we can find. You can start moving. Yes, we can pick those today too. You can move those garden bed covers. Just kind of slide them over, and I'll be over after I put these potatoes in the basket. We're gonna have to pull this fencing off. So let me put some gloves on, because so I'm gonna loosen this.
I'll pull the stake
I want to leave the stakes in because when we plant, I think we're gonna plant the green beans over here, and we'll want to put the fencing back around because the deer will eat all of them if we leave it open. But you know what? We can actually put one of the covers over it when we first plant them. So yeah, maybe it's a good idea to pull the stakes out because we can't use the covers if the stakes are in.
No, I can't pull it.
This one over here you probably can get. So I'm just going to wind this up. You can just lay them on the ground to the side. I'm going to finish getting this fencing out. And if you want to start pulling some of these plants up carefully, see if you can maybe get some of the potatoes out as you pull them out. Just be careful of the onions up here. And also you can pull out some of the weeds that you see, like there's a little maple tree growing in the middle of that. All of this extra fencing and the covers that we're using are all because we have many squirrels, and we have deer, and we have groundhogs that come through and will eat everything. So we've been doing anything that we can with some of the supplies that we already have just to protect the plants. And hopefully someday we will have a little bit more fencing around the yard so we can leave these open and we won't have to worry so much about the deer and possibly not the hedgehog. I keep saying hedgehogs. And possibly not the groundhogs. We can probably keep them out a little bit easier. Oh, these are yours on the edge.
Hey, look.
I thought yours were these ones, I think, here and here.
Yeah, that's it, what I just pulled up.
Okay.
I think it must have been all the fertilizer.
Yeah. Yeah, see how this one's kind of deformed? Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's from the soil being so compact. All right, I'm not finding very many.
There's one.
Oh, that's a good one. Good. Not finding a lot of large potatoes, but maybe I'm just not deep enough. I didn't water out here yesterday or the day before because I didn't want this to be all muddy when we were digging the potatoes up. Oh, here's a potato.
There's one. Hey, look at that guy.
You're finding a lot.
I'm a potato whisperer. Oops, I pulled up an onion.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. I think it's going to be okay because these onions were so stunted. The potatoes got so big so fast that they weren't really getting that much light, even using the fence to hold it up. I think we're going to have to get a pitchfork and loosen some of this dirt up some because it's really hard. This took much longer than what I had planned. So I think what I'm going to do today is just clean up my mess here. I think we're going to need to get a wheelbarrow and empty some of the dirt out of here because it is very firmly packed. And if we can get some of it out, I'll be able to dig a little deeper and see if we have any more potatoes lower in the garden bed. We did get a decent amount. I was planning on them being a little bit larger and possibly having a little bit more. But I think because of the soil being so firmly packed, we just didn't get as many as what I had planned. After we get the rest of this dirt dug out and see if we have any more potatoes, I'm going to add all the rest of the dirt back in, spread some fertilizer in this bed, and then probably tomorrow we'll come back out here and we will get some of our bush beans planted. I'm finding myself back out in the garden this morning. Yesterday I spent quite a bit of time cleaning up the garden beds and getting our potatoes all picked. Today I want to finish some of the cleanup, get my soil fertilized, and get some more seeds planted in the garden. In this bed I decided to plant some more of the rainbow variety Swiss chard that I had planted in one of the other beds. We did end up eating that quite a bit, just cutting it up and sauteing it, or adding it to quiches, or adding it to different pasta dishes, and we really enjoyed that. So I think it would be good to add more into the garden for this fall. We have had several hot days this year and haven't had any rain in well over a week. That means that I really need to soak this garden bed when I plant my seeds because we still don't have any rain in our forecast. I have had to come out every day and get the garden watered before it gets too hot and sunny, and I'm thinking that I need to maybe next year plant the garden in a way that I will have a little bit more shaded area for some of the plants that don't like too much sun. Now I'm going to plant a couple more rows of carrots. When I planted our first carrot seeds earlier this season, I had planned on planting a row of them about every 3 or 4 weeks, just so we could have a continual harvest. And then by the time I got the second row planted, the pinto bean plants that ended up coming up were taking over the whole area. So I decided not to plant more carrots yet. And now that I've pulled up those bean plants, I'm going to plant 2 more rows of carrots now, and then maybe in 2 or 3 weeks I will plant a couple more rows. We love eating carrots just as a regular side dish or grating into salads, and I love having them in the winter to add to soups and stews. The last thing that I want to get planted this morning are some more bean plants. We got so much use out of the ones that we had earlier in the season, and so now I'm going to fertilize the soil and get the soil nice and damp, and then start planting as many beans as I can in this garden space. The instructions say to plant these 8 to 12 inches apart. And once the beans start growing, we can pick them every 2 to 3 days to keep the harvest going. Now that I'm all finished getting my seeds planted, while I'm out here, I'm going to just grab a basket and cut some of these sweet potato vines. I was reading about how nutritious they are. I've never cooked with sweet potato leaves before, but I thought that it would kind of be fun to experiment a little bit by making a classic dish that's special to the area that I grew up in, and it's called Utica greens. But as a little fun twist, I thought that I could swap out the traditional escarole that they use in that recipe for some of these sweet potato leaves that I have right here in my garden. The vines do have a little bit of a white sappiness that comes out of them when you clip them, kind of similar to what a dandelion has in its stem. So it's a good idea to put on your garden gloves when you're harvesting your sweet potato vines. Thank you so much for joining me in the garden today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I am looking forward to seeing you next time. And I'm really looking forward to trying out this new twist on Utica greens. So if you're interested, keep watching for that video to come out soon. I'll give you a little glimpse of what we've picked out of the garden these last 2 days. I'm really happy with everything that we've got. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.